Hi everybody, Tapper here. On December 16th, 2025, YouTuber Valis Dreadmere announced the start of his Great Hybrid Tournament, and I decided to participate. Now, the rules of his tournament are a bit different from the Skybrid War or even Goshi Center's Great Hybrid War, so I'll run through them real quickly. I'll also skip Rule 1, as it has more to do with how the tournament's going to proceed, rather than with the hybrid building itself. The first rule that I need to follow is real animals only. It can be living or extinct as long as it's real. Second rule, primarily terrestrial. If it can't manage to spend all day on dry land, it's out. Third rule, new and existing hybrids are permitted. Basically, in theory, I could send Moonbear and his mate Paw into this tournament. I won't be, but I could. Fourth rule, respect the other contestants. Naturally, I don't want to cause any smoke. Fifth rule, packs are allowed. This one does have a caveat though. They have to be same species, there can be up to 5 total, the number permitted will depend on the weights of the opponent, and weights will be rounded up or down as necessary for this. Collaboration with another organization is allowed. Variation between packmates are permitted as long as the differences are within the normal physical or mental capabilities of the species. The members can be different age or sex as long as the changes don't have a massively significant difference in the capabilities. And the pack has to be functional as a pack. And from there are a few rules regarding the genome and even the theme. I'll start with the genome. There has to be at least 3 species in the genome, but no more than 15. No human DNA, obviously. No more than 2 species can be dinosaurs, or marine reptiles, or pterosaurs. The contributions can't clash with each other in a way that causes self-destruction before it reaches adulthood or struggles as an adult, obviously. And the weight limit is from 500 to 50,000 pounds. All that is relatively easy, though I know I don't have a scale in my nursery that can run that high. I was initially going to have some kind of goat as my base, but then the theme rule tripped me up a bit. The base species has to be from the Cenozoic era. Does this rule out the goats? Not really? But it left me feeling uneasy about using one as the base, and besides, I do like trying to find more obscure creatures. So, I went digging, trying to find some extinct animal that may fit the role. Well, I found something. Mesonichidae, I am gonna butcher that, probably. Name meaning middle claws, claimed to have lived just about in the Cenozoic, an extinct family of carnivorous or omnivorous mammals that have been described as wolves on hooves, combining features of carnivores and ungulates like sheep or cows. I just had to pick a species to jump from, so I dug through the genera to figure out which one had a complete enough skeleton that I could try to properly restore the genome for my hybrid. A challenge, given that most of them were only known from bone fragments. In fact, the biggest challenge was just hoping that Google image search would understand the assignment and not show me either art of the creature fully rendered by someone else's imagination, or skeletons of other creatures entirely. Well, it gave me a few to pick from, but Synonyx Cynonyx giachensis seems to be my best bet. About the size of a modern gray wolf, with 44 teeth, including long slender canines, short legs with digitigrade feet and tiny hooves on all 5 toes, and a large skull with an elongated, narrow muzzle and large sagittal crest to hold the temporalis muscles for a powerful bite. A good start, though the presence of 5 toes did throw me for a loop. Now, I want to improve the hooves. And here's where my fondness for the goat kicked back in. The Alpine Ibex. Capra ibex, famous for climbing up 57-degree slopes of dams to lick salt off the rocks. That's due to its hooves, which are sharp and have rubbery pads on the underside of the front pair which contour to any surface for better grip. Really, any goat would do, as they all have this. But I like this one for... I mean, do I really need a reason? I needed a goat. This one's as good as any. Oh, but I'm not using the horns. Those would clash with the bite, as realistically all the ruminants that have good head weaponry like horns or antlers actually don't have particularly good biting teeth. They have lower teeth that they press into a hard upper palate to rip up grasses or strip leaves off of twigs. It's the ones that don't have head weaponry, like horses, that will bite and can actually do damage. I'm just going to be integrating basically everything from the neck to the rump. Now I have a different species in mind for augmenting the head and tail. I wanted to pick a canine for this. However, I was struggling with picking one because of how many options there were. So while I was on a live stream one day, I'd mentioned I was trying to pick a canine and requested an opinion. Extinct or extant? One person replied with extinct doggo best doggo, which at least helps me narrow it down to 5 or 6 genera within the wolf-like canids. Out of 7 or 8, so that actually didn't narrow it down all that much. Let's see. I think considering my base is of a completely extinct family, I'd rather pick something from a genus where something is still alive, just to help me have more concrete evidence. Yes, I'll be using an extinct member, but I can get a sense of what the extinct version might have looked like by comparing them to the still living version. This does rule out direwolves, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. This drops me down a bit further, and since there's still debate whether Xenochion is a separate genus or just a side quest for Canis, I'll just rule them both out. Well, that was easy. Genus Lycaon used to have 3 species. Nowadays there's only the one, the African wild dog. I'll specifically be using its cousin, Lycaon Sakawe, which died out a while ago but still presumably shares a decent number of head and tail characteristics that I can rely on pictures of the painted pupper to continue augmenting. Why that one specifically? Because Lycaon Magnus doesn't have a Wikipedia page. That's basically the only reason I chose one over the other. So what the wild dog gives my hybrid is... Okay, you saw that Cynonyx skeleton. They do have pretty impressive teeth, but the wild dog will improve them. In wild dogs, their premolars are pretty big relative to their size, and also they have a couple of teeth that are self-sharpening. Cynonyx does have similar teeth, so why not throw more into it? As long as I'm doing that, they're going to add the eyes, the ears, the nose, the brain. Wild dogs are among the most social, did you know that? And that fun flag-like tail. When I first came up with this idea, this is where I'd stopped. I wasn't even going to add any further genomes. Then I double-checked weights. None of them are heavy enough. The heaviest genome in my list is the Ibex, and even the largest males stop at 258 pounds. I needed to boost its size to get to at least the minimum weight requirement. I picked out the elk, specifically the Roosevelt elk, the largest of the elk subspecies. These bad boys can get into the 575 to 624 pound range, and that's just the females. Males hit 701 to 1100 pounds. This will help me boost the size up enough to where larger enemies won't completely ignore it. Also, this boosts their stamina and raises their agility further than one would expect, giving them an 8-foot vertical jump. He still needs armor, though not too much so that he can stay mobile. I'll give him Komodo dragon scales underneath, while leaving fun fur on his tail, back, and the outside of his limbs. And finally, while the Komodo dragon will add a bit of this as well, the northern short-tailed shrew shall put iron into their tooth enamel, sharpening the teeth even further, while also turning them red. One more. I'm a little worried about the elk weakening my hybrid's immune system, so I'll add the Virginia opossum to boost that back up. Now I'm done. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Caprolupus quinquegueni. I did not make that easy to say. Meaning 5-toed goat wolf. I think the ibex nerfed the tail a bit. It's shorter than I intended, but it's still long enough for signaling to the other pack members. My full team is named Scrappy, Daxon, Center, Vesper, and Clifford. My sister named Clifford. Scrappy's the leader, and will be the one to be seen if only one opponent is allowed. Clifford would come in next. She's his partner. Whether Vesper or Center joins in third is a bit up in the air. They might vote on it, which they do by sneezing. Daxon's the lightest and is also really shy. He will only participate if all 5 members of the pack are needed. They'll use hit-and-run tactics, dodging as much as they can until their opponent is tired out. Why do they look like a yarn store exploded? When I use extinct genomes to build a hybrid, colorations can get weird. It's purely cosmetic and won't affect fighting style at all. But with that, I'm on my way. Not only am I bringing my team, but I'm also bringing a gift. The egg I was planning on giving to Valis hatched while I was still in the middle of genome synthesizing, so I decided to give him a little bit of training just so that I wasn't bringing a completely fresh Mortalodon. This little guy doesn't have a name yet, and I can't finish his training because I don't know what he'd be asked to do in his new home, but I've taught him the basics. He's leash trained and house trained, and he responds well to spoken commands. I hope he's helpful to you during this time. And while I'm not bringing him with the thought of receiving anything in return, if Valis should choose to offer me one of his Ardea Tyrannus chicks, I wouldn't refuse it. I'm not sure how to end this. Later!